In our town, the roar of Tamiya Mini 4WD cars was the sound of summer. Kids would crowd around the local track, their flashy, high-tech machines blurring into streaks of color. And then there was me and my little car, Phoenix. Phoenix wasn't like the others. It was born from the boneyard, the forgotten corner of the hobby shop where broken dreams went to die. Its chassis was a spiderweb of cracks, held together with more superglue than plastic. The shell was a faded, scratched-up mess, a ghost of its former vibrant red. The wheels were a clumsy quartet of mismatched sizes and colors, scavenged from 4 different long-dead racers. The other kids, especially the older boys with their perfectly tuned, store-bought kits, would laugh. "Look at that pile of junk," one would sneer. "It's gonna fall apart on the first turn." They called me Shorty and my car Scrappy. I just clutched Phoenix a little tighter. They didn't get it. This wasn't junk. This was mine. Every piece told a story. The cracked chassis? It survived a legendary crash on the Dragon's back turn. The mismatched wheels? They once belonged to champions. I was giving them a second chance. We were giving each other a second chance. My dad, who worked long hours at the factory, didn't know much about Tamiya cars, but he knew about building things to last. He'd watch me in the garage, hunched over my workbench with a tiny screwdriver and a determined frown. "It's not about having the best parts, kiddo," he'd say, wiping grease from his hands. "It's about making the parts you have the best they can be." He taught me how to balance the wobbly wheels with tiny bits of clay, how to reinforce the chassis with slivers of metal he brought home from work. He helped me rewind the motor by hand, a painstaking process of coiling delicate copper wire, trying to squeeze out a little more power from a component everyone else had thrown away. The first time I put Phoenix on the track was terrifying. My heart hammered against my ribs, each beat echoing the clatter of my car as it wobbled down the starting straight. The other cars zipped past it, sleek and silent. Phoenix rattled and shook, a symphony of loose parts and hopeful engineering. It took the first corner so slowly I could have walked faster. The crowd of kids giggled. But it didn't fly off. It held on. When it completed that first agonizingly slow lap and crossed the finish line, I didn't care that I was dead last. A huge grin spread across my face. It had survived. We had survived. That smile felt bigger than any trophy. That became our routine. I'd spend my week tinkering, tuning, and talking to Phoenix. I know, it sounds silly talking to a toy car, but it felt like we were a team. I'd find a new discarded part, a slightly better gear, or a less worn roller, and I'd spend hours figuring out how to integrate it into my Frankenstein's monster of a car. Each modification was a small victory. Each completed lap, a little faster than the last, was a triumph. The laughter from the other kids started to fade. It was replaced by a grudging curiosity. They saw me, day after day, refusing to give up. They saw Phoenix, the pile of junk, getting quicker, more stable. The day of the annual summer championship arrived. The air was thick with anticipation and the smell of ozone from electric motors. The grand prize was a state-of-the-art Tamiya kit, the kind I only ever dreamed of. The track was packed. Everyone was there with their shiniest, fastest machines. I placed Phoenix on the starting line, its faded red shell looking almost dignified amidst the glittery competition. My hands were shaking, but this time it was from excitement, not fear. The starting signal blared, and the car shot off. Phoenix, as usual, had a slow start. It lagged behind, its unique rattle a familiar comfort in the chaos. The lead cars battled for position, their drivers shouting and cheering. I just watched my car. I knew its every weakness, but I also knew its hidden strengths. I knew it didn't have the raw speed on the straights, but all those hours of balancing meant it could take the corners with a strange, tenacious grip that defied physics. Lap after lap, I watched as the faster, more aggressive cars pushed their limits too far. One would spin out on a tight turn. Another would get tangled up with a rival and crash into the wall. Slowly, methodically, Phoenix started to move up the ranks. It wasn't passing them with a burst of speed. It was simply enduring. It kept going. The other racers, used to perfection, didn't know how to handle the pressure when a wheel bearing got tight or a roller came loose. Their races ended in frustration. My entire journey with Phoenix had been about managing imperfection. A little wobble here, a strange noise there, it was all normal for us. As the race neared its final laps, a gasp went through the crowd. There were only 3 cars left. 2 sleek, beautiful machines, driven by the 2 best racers in town, and my little Phoenix, the car built from scraps. It was in 3rd place, trailing by a significant margin. "No way," I heard someone whisper. The 2 leaders were neck and neck, trading the lead back and forth. They were so focused on each other that they didn't notice my little red car steadily closing the gap, corner by corner. On the final lap, they entered the Dragon's back turn side by side. It was a notoriously difficult section where so many races were won and lost. They both went in too hot, jostling for the inside line. There was a sickening crack of plastic as they collided. One car flew off the track and the other spun out, its wheels still spinning uselessly. And through the middle of the chaos, like it was just another day at the track, came Phoenix. It chugged along, steady and true. It navigated the turn, past the wreckage of the 2 front runners, and headed for the final straight. The entire track fell silent. All you could hear was the clattering hum of my little car. It was all alone. It crossed the finish line. For a moment, there was just silence. Then a tentative clap, then another, and then the whole place erupted in cheers. They weren't laughing anymore. They were cheering for the junk car. They were cheering for me. I walked over and picked Phoenix up. It was warm from the motor. A new crack had appeared on the shell, a battle scar from the final turn. One of the mismatched wheels was wobblier than ever. It was still a pile of junk. It was still imperfect, but it was a champion. As they handed me the box for the brand new, top-of-the-line Tamiya, I smiled. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to open it up, find the best parts, and see if they were good enough to go on Phoenix. After all, it's not about having the best parts. It's about making what you have the best it can be. Thanks for watching our story today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more. See you next time.